Why do we collect records? I mean, they're not exactly convenient, right? They take up space, and not just a little bit, they take up a lot of space, especially if you're building a collection. And also, they're not exactly cheap, and you need a few pieces of equipment to play them with. Not everyone is the same when it comes to buying or collecting records. We all have different motivations, and it's a commitment. But why, though? Is it nostalgia? Well, not for me, and I did a whole video about that recently. Is it an obsession? Well, it's a little bit deeper than that. At least for me, it's deeper than that. And that's what I want to do today. I want to talk about we're going to have fun with this, talk about some of the different types of collectors, and maybe you'll see yourself in one or two of them. And because of this channel, I've heard from a lot of folks that are into records just as I am. Some are just beginning their journey, and some are decades into it. I began my journey in 1977. I was 10 years old. That was a long time ago. Many of the records that you see behind me in this cabinet, and if you were here and were to go upstairs, there's another storage unit where I have the rest of the records. So there's a lot of records here. And some of these records I've had for 50 plus years. I've been collecting for a long time, and I enjoy it. And I don't see that slowing down or stopping anytime soon. Now, while you can't really pigeonhole everybody into a type of collector, I mean, that's just not fair, but the lines are blurry and you do start to see patterns emerge. And I thought it would be fun to, come up with some archetypes of collectors. And we'll call them characters. And for every character, they're all collecting records for different reasons. And like I said, the lines are blurry. But you will recognize folks and maybe yourself in these. And at the end of it all, I want to see what you think and where you see yourself in these characters. So let's start off with this first one, the completist. The completist must own every pressing, every B-side, and every reissue. Can you imagine? They might be driven by love for the format, maybe curiosity, and maybe a little bit of obsession. A completist will pull out 3 different copies of Fleetwood Mac's Rumors. They will tell you where each was pressed, how they sound different, and probably which one they prefer. The completist will often have wall-to-wall shelves full of records. And there's another type of completist, the semi-completist, who doesn't need multiple copies of a record. But if they love an artist, they'll set out to collect their complete catalog. And next we have the curator. There are a couple flavors of the curator in the archetypes I'm having fun with. One is someone who only buys records that they know they will love. A lot of younger collectors fall into this category. They know they want the new Sabrina Carpenter record or Wicked soundtrack album. They know what they want. They buy it, they play it, and they love it. And they don't think about any other records until maybe their favorite artist comes out with a new one or something new comes along. Their buying habits are not dictated by loyalty to an artist or a particular genre. They're selective in what they buy, and it's usually just based on a particular song they might like or a moment that they experienced. The other type of curator is someone who is, far along in their journey and are downsizing. And I hear from a lot of folks who are doing this. They're selectively trimming their collections down. The ones that they keep are their desert island records. There are no fillers. They whittle down their collection to keep only those that they know that they're going to listen to over and over until death do they part. And then, speaking of desert islands, there are the treasure hunters. I see treasure hunters all the time in antique shops and used record stores. They go from bin to bin or shelf to shelf, flipping through the records until they see something that might be rare or maybe a little bit obscure. It's not so much about finding artists that they enjoy. They might say, come across a Beatles record. You'll see them step aside, maybe, let people pass, and they'll pull out their app, look up Discogs, and find out what that particular pressing sold for last. They might keep it, add it to their collection, or maybe they'll just throw it on eBay and sell it and make a few bucks. Those are the treasure hunters. Opposite of the treasure hunters are the sentimentalists. The sentimentalist builds their collection around memories. It could be compilation albums that contain songs from their youth or that they grew up with. It could be records that their parents or maybe even their grandparents owned. Or maybe they were at a concert and they picked up a record at the merchandise table. Whatever the case may be, there's nostalgia in the sentimentalist's heart. They connect it with memories. Every album has a story behind it. They might not have a huge collection, but emotion runs deep in that collection. Next, we have the explorer. Now, these are the crate-digging archaeologists who flip through records until something catches their eye. They're a little different than the treasure hunter who's, looking for those rare, obscure, or expensive albums. The explorer is different. It could be like really wild cover art or something simple that just sparks their curiosity, like what does a German polka album sound like? The explorer is not afraid to try out new genres, and if you look at their collection, it's a mishmash of unexpected finds and sounds. And you'll see all kinds of things in their collection, and although there might be no rhyme or reason to it, it's a reflection of their personality. It's what makes them special. They're the ones who will walk up to the register with a stack of records that includes things like, say, Taylor Swift, or an old beat-up copy of the Grease soundtrack, or the soundtrack to the movie Hot Stuff. I wonder if there is a vinyl record for Hot Stuff. Does anybody remember that movie? Susan Plachette. And then there are collectors like me. I'm a little bit of a semi-completist and a sentimentalist. Like I said, the lines are blurry. When I listen to an album that I've bought, every song on it is special in its own way, especially those deep cuts that really never received any airplay but are unexpected gems. A good example is Night Flight on Physical Graffiti, or Moon Over Bourbon Street on Sting's Dream of the Blue Turtles, and then there's First Flash of Freedom on Tom Petty's Mojo album. A personal favorite is Dreamer on Tommy Bolin's Teaser album. The list goes on. Those are the songs that move me. It could be a turn of phrase or a lyric or a melody. I never know what's going to hit me. When I encounter an album by an artist that does that for me, when I discover a deep cut that just moves me, I'm usually hooked, and I'll start collecting everything that artist has put out, looking for more deep cuts, looking to re-experience what that first deep cut did. I mean, it's never ending. When I look at my collection today, it's really an autobiography. There are records I escaped to during my socially awkward teenage years, and those I listened to for inspiration when I was learning to play guitar in my late 20s and early 30s. I'm still a hack when it comes to playing guitar. And there are also those artists that I started listening to later in life, especially some that my dad really liked. And after he passed, I found myself listening to those artists like the Eagles and Bob Seger, another good example. The way I collect records has evolved. Today, I keep a list of records that I want to purchase to fill gaps in an artist's discography that I really like, or maybe I'm looking to replace an old worn-out copy that I picked up at a used record store along the way. There's all kinds of reasons, but now I'm more selective and I approach it strategically. But again, I'm still collecting. For me, collecting is a form of storytelling. I can pull out any record and listen to it, and more often than not, it will unleash a bunch of memories. Some memories are from the distant past, and some memories are more recent memories. My collection is really a reflection of my life. So I turn this question to you. Do you see yourself in any of these characters, or are you a combination of some? Let me know in the comments below, or send me an email. There's a link in the description below. That's about it, but I do want to say thank you so much for watching. You know I appreciate it, especially if you watch this channel. I also have a newsletter. You probably saw something about it near the beginning of this video. Free to join. There's a lot of articles I put out, and it comes out once a week on Saturday mornings usually. So again, thank you, and until next time, take care of yourself and enjoy your records. I'll see you soon.